So as we're fast approaching the end of Q1 of 2019, we're all waiting to see if Gibson are actually back with a bang or if it's just been a load of hot air. Let's get stuck in. Hi, my name's Matt and I'm the director here at Inspire Music School, and we are passionate about beginners learning and loving the guitar. We've been getting a lot of questions recently, especially as we're kind of into 2019 now, as whether or not Gibson guitars are actually back and is it worth buying one? That seems like a bit of a strange question because Gibson have been around for longer than most of us. In fact, all of us have actually been alive. They've been around since the 1800s. So their legacy kind of speaks for itself. And those of us that are starting out on this guitar journey have heard lots and lots about the past few years in the Gibson legacy and how it's not exactly been peaches and cream. In fact, it's actually been a bit of a nightmare. Now, you might not be too sure of the actual ins and outs of what actually went on, so in order to answer the question as to whether or not I believe it's still worth investing in Gibson, we need to go back and just recap as to what actually went down. So Gibson had gone through a few kind of leadership changes, and they basically tried to remarket themselves as like this weird musical lifestyle company where they were releasing all these kind of weird, strange products, and their guitars got very kind of odd. And basically what their belief was at the time was they thought the guitar was dead in the water and there was no point in investing talent and hours into producing the top spec guitars anymore. They were looking to broaden their horizon and they wanted to get into new products basically. And as most of you could guess, if you've got 100 years of doing one thing and you just try and do something else, it's going to end in tears. Gibson over the years have had a massive relationship with some pretty big names, and we even saw a few of these big names leaving Gibson. Even guys like Zakk Wylde, who was made famous by Ozzy Osbourne. He was the guitar player for Ozzy Osbourne and the lead guitarist in Black Label Society. He decided to go his own way. He severed his ties with Gibson and launched his own guitar line. And the reason that artists were leaving Gibson was because Gibson just wasn't giving them the service and the attention that they needed and the support that they wanted. And this was causing them to look elsewhere. And it all comes back to that belief that Gibson had under their leadership at the time, that the guitar was just kind of dead in the water and we all needed to move on. They were looking into sound engineering equipment and all different kind of DJ equipment. I read somewhere they were looking at DJ equipment. I just think, Gibson DJ, what, like sunburst turntables? Like, what the hell's going on? Tobacco burst monitors. You just think, no, forget it. No, this is rubbish. Gibson had actually also racked up a substantial amount of debt which was due to be paid. They had what were called bonds, so they owed money to shareholders and they needed to pay it all out, and they were basically looking at the amount of money that they had versus the amount of money that they owed. And what became very, very apparent last year when they were looking at paying this debt and making sure that everyone was paid their dues was that Gibson were actually going to be going under altogether, and we were going to lose Gibson Guitars forever, or however long it would be before they were revived under some weird new name. Even their quality of instrument had gone by the wayside. They weren't investing as much time and effort into things like quality control. They weren't concerned about the actual standard of instrument that they were putting out as much as they had been in previous years. Gibson also raised some eyebrows when they didn't show up to the NAMM show a few years back, and everyone was like, what the heck's going on? For those of you that don't know, that are just starting out on this guitar journey, the NAMM show is actually kind of the alpha and omega of guitar expos in America, and it's where a lot of manufacturers go to show off their new products for that following year. And then the big news hit, Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And I don't know about you guys in America, but in the UK we have something that's slightly different. You would say you're going into administration, but Chapter 11 bankruptcy, when we heard that news, we were just thinking, wow, Gibson Guitars is going into Chapter 11. This is the company that Jimmy Page played their guitars, Slash played their guitars. The list is endless, and this company that's got a legacy that goes back over 100 years, they're actually going to be going out of business. You just think, how is this even possible? But it was from the top. It just wasn't working, and the vision was all wrong, and it was leading it down the toilet basically. If you've bought a Gibson guitar in the last, say, 2-3 years, please comment below. Let us know what model it was and let us know your experience of that model. Have you kept it? Have you sold it? Do you like it? Do you like some of the models that they brought out in the last few years? Let us know below. Do you agree with the model that they were taking on, going in a new direction altogether? Gibson somehow managed to sort everything out, and the financial side of it I'm not too clear on. Some of the terminology is a bit strange. There's a lot of different companies that were kind of getting involved in it, but the long and short of it is they've managed to change their CEO. They've got a brand new CEO as of last last year. They've got a new head of finances, they've got a new head of quality control. So it seems like they've really taken a lot of the issues and just kind of shaken the structure of the company. And then NAMM 2018 rolled around and everyone was kind of like crossed arms waiting to see what Gibson were going to do. Was it going to be like a brand new Gibson? Was it going to be the Gibson that everybody wanted? Gibson's that kind of company whereby everyone has their idea and their preferences, what they like, and they don't really like to shift too much from it. But at NAMM, they unveiled a lot of new lines and they gave everybody a really good kind of indication as to what they can expect from 2019 going forward. And everyone was like, wow, Gibson are actually back. It's almost like night and day to where they were just a few months ago. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about the new Gibsons. Do you like them? Do you hate them? What are you thinking? What are your thoughts? Do you have any concerns? Do you believe? Are you a Gibson believer? Do you think that Gibson have the talent and the passion behind them again to take the guitar into, you know, the next 100 years? The one thing that kind of caught my eye, that my biggest thing that I was keeping an eye out for, was the Les Paul. I'm a Les Paul owner. I love the Les Pauls. As soon as I got my first Les Paul, I was like, that was it. I was Les Paul all the way. So for me, I was keeping a close eye on what Gibson were doing in the realms of Les Paul. From what they launched at NAMM, was that they're still trying to be an inventive, modern company that are trying to keep up with trends and progress as a brand, but also they've taken on the opinions and thoughts of their real loyal fan base. Because Gibson isn't like a brand where they've got these kind of fair weather fans that just kind of come and go. You know, guys that do that, you would say, well, you're not a true fan of the brand. I mean, the guys that were getting the most upset over the quality and the lines of instruments that were coming out were, you know, the real diehard Gibson fans, the guys that were like, what is this? This isn't the work that you're usually putting out. What's great to see is that Gibson are actually becoming that brand again, that are looking at the next 100 years, the next generation of Gibson guitar players, the next kind of musical trends, but also staying loyal to their roots, keeping those traditional kind of models that they're so known for, the sunburst, the cherry burst, and, you know, those traditional kind of shapes and styles that everybody loves. They're still trying to keep those in there, and I think that's such a good thing to see. I was watching an interview with the new CEO of Gibson, and he was talking about where he sees the company going forward. And the thing is, Gibson are a guitar brand. They're known for their guitars and their guitar accessories, etc. And to take Gibson in any other direction just seems foolish. So it's great to see that Gibson are going, right, where's our strength? What is it that we're good at? Let's get back to doing that. Let's give the people what they want. But at the same time, let's keep that sense of wonder and moving forward and getting that company going and looking into the future as to what's going on. Because whether we like it or not, other guitar brands are going to do the same thing. Now, Gibson will never keep everybody happy. That's just fact. Gibson can't keep everybody happy. There's always going to be people that are going to be a little bit disgruntled by what's going on within the company. They might not agree with some of the changes that have been made. They may not even like the direction that the company goes in the future. You can't really please everybody. But the fact that Gibson are willing to take that on board and think about that is a really, really good sign. I mean, they've not said that they're going to be taking away, like, for example, their G-Force tuners, which are kind of like these weird, for those of you that have never seen them before, it's like this little adapter that's just kind of fixed on the back of the headstock, and it basically tunes the guitar for you. And that seems kind of innovative in itself. It wasn't to everybody's liking, it's not to my liking, but they're still keeping it in their current lines. But what they've also done is they've also brought out like the Les Paul traditional, which kind of harks back their roots of what they're good at and what they're great at. And you've got a real balance there, which is really, really good. That's a very encouraging thing to see from any company. It's important for companies to evolve and to be looking forward and looking into the future. If you imagine, like, I don't know, like if you thought of Apple, so like the Apple One or the Apple II, people that bought the Apple One or the Apple II way back when may have loved it. They may have loved it more than the computers that Microsoft were bringing out, you know, Bill Gates and the gang getting together, bringing out their stuff. You know, the hardcore Apple guys may have really loved what was going on way back when. However, Apple knew that their industry was changing and they were going to have to expand into other frontiers when it comes to their business model. Just to bring it back to Gibson Guitars, there's probably a lot of big talk in those boardroom meetings whereby people are coming out with all these different types of ideas to take the guitars that they're making into that next phase of production. You know, it could be that across the board, eventually you're going to see those G-Force tuners. The guitars may become lighter, the necks might become thinner, you know, and they've been accused of wanting to sound like Fender guitars. And you know, if I wanted a Fender guitar, I'd buy a Fender guitar. I want my Les Paul to sound like a Les Paul. And yeah, you know, that isn't to everybody's liking, but Gibson have to think about making their product as versatile as possible. So it's encouraging to see that Gibson are going, you know what, we're going to have the Gibson models that are going out there that are going to have those high performance specs, whether it be all the bells and whistles when it comes to the sounds that they can produce and the kind of the neck tapers and everything like that. But they're also taking into consideration, you know, this is what the people love as well, and we want to make sure that those guys that really love those old classic models like the Les Paul classics, you know, those guys are still kept really happy. The fact that Gibson are thinking like that is a great sign, and I'm really excited to see what's going to be coming out from Gibson. So if you're a beginner guitarist and you're thinking, you know, should I be looking at Gibson guitars? Should I be paying attention to them? Yes, absolutely. It's the most exciting time, I think, for the longest time for Gibson guitars. They're spending a lot more time looking at quality control, looking at taking feedback from their artists. So it really encourages you to see that they're trying to keep their finger as much on the pulse of what's going on in music, as opposed to just kind of writing it off and going, we're going to go in this weird direction. It's so refreshing to see. And yes, if you're a beginner guitar player, you know, if you haven't got the budget for it, save up, really try and invest in this company. Well, in a very roundabout way, it's a very kind of long-winded way for me to say, yes, I still like Gibson, and yes, I would recommend buying their products, and no, I don't believe the company is dead in the water forever. But there you go. I mean, I'm passionate about Gibson. I love Gibson guitars, and I'm so pumped and excited to see what's going to be coming out from them. If you like this video, guys, and you found it useful, please press that subscribe button and hit that bell icon for any updates of when we release new material. We aim to release a new video every single week. Well, thanks for watching, guys. My name's Matt, helping all you beginner guitar players out there learn and love the guitar. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Have a good one.